Welcome once again to Nostalgia Alley. We are surrounded by art and a fantastic artist. Compliments of Joanne, Leone, credited artist who has had exhibits in Rutgers University in Newark, La Mama in New York City, and all over Essex County. It's a pleasure to have you, and welcome to Nostalgia Alley.
Thank you.
Of course, my first question, what inspired you to be an artist?
I grew up on South 9th Street in Newark with people who inspired me to just keep playing, and the play became art. We formed a club, which this painting reflects, the Halakawina Kawindu Club.
Oh, let's hold that up. Let me. And
this is symbolic of
can you become a member if you can pronounce it?
Yes,
can I make you a member?
There you go. Yeah, this is symbolic of childhood and the things we found on the street, the jacks we played, the feathers, which was part of our Halakawina Kawindu icons, right? The beads we sewed with our grandmas. This is a photograph of me and my friends, and then I put it against the background of what reflected spirit and childhood. And from the time I was 3.5, I participated in this with my friends and with all of the people on the block, grandparents, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and we culminated each summertime with a big show. And we would charge people a nickel, a dime to come in. When my good friend Ellen passed away...
My nickel is out, I have it here.
Yeah, all right, good. When my good friend Ellen passed away, much too young at 40, I did a number of pieces to honor her, and this is one of them.
So you actually have people's belongings incorporated in the art.
Yes, I do.
I've never heard of that. That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
Surrounded by art.
So how did I begin being an artist? It just... I mean, art is my life. Life is art.
Now, your dad had an influence on you, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
He was an artist in his own right?
He was a welder, but he loved to recycle, so that scraps of metal he would use to make into little sculptures. And Tony Smith was a neighbor of his, and he influenced Tony Smith, the big sculptor, whose piece is now in South Orange. My dad inspired me to do whatever I felt was necessary to do, and that was doing art. Yeah.
Now, what I think is very interesting about you is that dance influenced your art. Now, how did dancing become art?
Well, I studied dance from the time I was 3 as well, and when I couldn't be a prima ballerina, I wasn't built correctly.
Neither am I.
Okay. Yeah, I continue to dance in different ways, but when I began painting large canvases, I would throw them on the floor, put music on, and dance around the canvas and throw paint, and the music inspired the movement of the paint. I guess my childhood and all that you learn when you're little becomes just a part of you, and so this painting is...
This is gorgeous, but it's a huge painting.
Yeah.
Tell me a little about that.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
This one I danced to, just as we explained, but I threw the canvas out in the yard in the back, and I call it what fell on it, because whatever bug crawled across it, I drew it into the canvas. Whatever flower fell on it, I incorporated it into the design. In some cases I've used some stencils here, in other cases just free form. But I have music playing all the time, even when I'm outside.
Do you have a favorite piece of music that you play when you're doing art? Rock and roll, classical?
I love jazz.
Jazz, of course. The free form of jazz and the free form of art.
And in fact, I did this one to Louis Armstrong, It's a Wonderful World. And so the dance becomes becomes my art because it's who I am. Yeah.
Now, was this something you just decided to do, dance and art, or was it something you learned? How did you discover that dancing
Yeah.
yields great art?
I don't know if I discovered it. It was organic.
Organic.
It just happened. Yeah.
That's an important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It just happened. And colors happen too. You know, when I'm in the midst of the painting, I don't plan it ahead. In the midst of it, I'm just grabbing an orange or purple and adding the white. And as I feel it, I do it.
So it's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
Well, art is really a feeling, isn't it? It's a feeling.
I think so.
How does art affect our souls? Because I know art, you look at it, you feel it. Tell me a little about how that works for you.
Well, as I said before, art is my life. Life is art. And I can't remove myself from what I'm feeling, so that whatever's happening that day becomes part of what I'm painting. When my dad died, when my friends died, my art became about them. I had an agent in New York a number of years ago, and she loved what I was doing, and it was very bright and happy. And then after my dad passed away, things became black. And she said, well, I can't represent you anymore. I said, well, I can't work with you then, because I have to do what
Right.
I'm feeling. And how does it affect my soul? I don't know.
Well, I guess you go through periods. When you had your black period, did you continue on with art?
Oh, yeah.
What type of things did you do when you were in that? Were they a little more dramatic rather than lighter, or how did that affect?
I used a lot of black and gold. And things became somewhat darker, but I couldn't live there long. So soon I saw the springtime, in the darkness, and I got brighter again.
Now
Yeah.
this is a very interesting thing. Tell me a little about what you have here.
Yeah, well, this
That's
is
fabulous.
actually part of my mother's show.
We can go into that.
Yeah. And these are buttons that my grandma Conchetta saved. She was a seamstress, as was my grandmother Teresa. Both of them were in that field, and this little box was given to me by Jacob Landau, who was my mentor and friend. And each week I'd see him, he'd give me some little piece, and he'd say, you'll use this somewhere in your work. So this was a journey in discovery about my grandma and about things that I found that I thought could fit and make sense out of this little box.
This is like a lizard here?
It's a little lizard.
How does that
yeah.
fit into the general pattern?
Well, it's just the journey of looking deeper into my path. And that little character I found amusing, so I wanted him to be part of my journey in seeking Grandma's gems.
I love the fact that you take personal articles of people and incorporate it in the art. I don't know anybody who does it. I think that's really original. Now, you had a wonderful idea, which is the Mother series. Tell me about how it started and what is the Mother series?
Well, the Mother series, here's a postcard from that show. And my mom saw this piece, a number of these pieces that I was working on with young students. And she had seen the pieces I did after my dad died, after my friend died, and she said, do I have to be dead before you paint me? So I said, no, Ma, and I took a piece of brown paper, threw it on the floor, and I said, lie down. And my mom was
Really?
80 pounds, very little. And I traced around her body, just as I traced around this little student's. And after I traced around her, I then drew her face. This is the little girl's face, but I drew my mom's face onto the brown paper. And then I asked my mom, as I asked this little girl, tell me about the things that you love in life. What was the most important thing? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? And this little girl painted the school,
What was the most
her
important
house.
thing that made your mom happy that you have in the art?
Well, all right, here's what she said to me. The most important thing is having you and your brother and dancing at the Savoy with your father.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, they were
romantic.
very good dancers, yeah. And so that in the finished product, this is not the finished product of her piece.
Mhm.
It's one that I believe you saw
Right.
with my mom and dad. And so I incorporated her ideas, my brother and I being her favorite things, and my father and she, and then some dance movements in the background of the particular portrait that relates to her.
And how did your mother react when she saw it?
She didn't see the finished product.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Never got to see that.
She never got to
Sorry.
see it.
I
Wow.
know. She saw the original one that I did of her on the floor. She saw that one.
She must have been thrilled to see that and
Well, she
to
was,
lie on
yeah.
the floor and have you trace around her. And what an experience for your mom. So she did get to see a little bit about it.
She did. She didn't get to see the one that I showed, in the show about all of the mothers. But she got to see that one, yeah.
Wow. We got about 2 minutes to go.
The mother show,
Yeah,
let me
and
show you
then
that one. That's part of
We
the
have another
mothers.
one too. Let me just,
Oh.
and we're going to talk more about this when we come back. But look at this. Wow. That's gorgeous.
This was part of my mother's show as well in regard to my neighbor Leroy Stafford and he discussing mothers. Do you want to finish it later?
You know what? We're going to come right back and we're going to focus on this.
Good, okay.
What could be a better thing to focus on, this
Right.
gorgeous piece of art? So we're going to break now for a public service announcement. Ben is running into the control room to put it on. And we will be back, so stay where you are and don't touch that dial.
After 17 years working as a mason, Mike was laid off. I met him when he came into the library looking for help. He found a job opening, but the application was only online. Mike said he'd spent his entire life around tools, but had never used a computer. I showed him how, and he ended up applying for numerous jobs online. I saw Mike the other day. His new computer skills paid off. He's working again.
New Jersey libraries are transforming lives. Tell us your story.
Hey, welcome back to Nostalgia. Welcome back to Nostalgia Alley. We left, but we had this wonderful piece of artwork. Tell me a little bit about that. We started off with it, and it has many different faces. Does that represent many different journeys?
No, this represents my neighbor and friend Leroy
Okay.
and his family, his sister and brother, and his mother. His mother shows up twice here. His mother is gone, and the reason why I have this touch of blue is because of her influence on his life and his earth, his life on earth, and now that she's gone somewhere else, right? Now, the discussion with Leroy was his mom nurturing the community, nurturing him, nurturing the little plants that she grew in her yard. And he knew I was working on the Mother Show. He knew my mom. And so we had this long discussion about his mother, and I said I would like to include her in my Mother Show.
Oh, nice.
So he collaborated and gave me photographs of her and talked about her, and this is the result of his mom's piece.
Boy.
Yeah.
That's very nice. And now, I want to eat this piece of artwork. I haven't had dinner yet, but I'm getting hungry. Tell me about this. It's
All right.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Let's put it over, kind of
Where's-
hold it up.
Where do we
Up
put
right
it?
underneath.
This way? All right.
Right there.
This way?
Yeah, that's great.
This is part of the installation for my mom's piece. These are strufulas. We used to call my mom the strufula queen. These are not real strufulas. These are clay pieces.
Now, what is a strufula?
A strufula is a little tiny ball of dough
Okay.
that is deep fried and then poured into honey. And they're totally covered with honey, and you can't eat one. And they're covered with little jimmies or little chocolate pieces. But my daughters, Rebecca and Marie, made these out of clay. They actually made some
Really?
with their grandma, Marie,
How nice.
when she was around. But they know how to roll these very well. So they did these in clay. They painted them the exact colors that the strufula becomes. And then we glued them all to a dish that my mom got at the Stanley movie theater back when she was a little girl.
The
This is
Stanley
really her.
Movie
This is
Theater,
really her.
Out in Jersey City.
Newark.
Newark.
Yeah.
That's Stanley.
Newark. That's Stanley. So, I mean, this is really part of history.
Now, when you do a piece of art like that, do you have to put the calorie count underneath the
No.
piece? Okay,
I
that's
don't.
good. That's good to
And
know.
and this is also was part of the installation, a crocheted piece that my mother did that was part of it, and I make,
Oh, that's cute. Look
I
at
make
that.
my cards. This was
Oh.
actually a card, a Mother's Day card.
A Mother's Day card.
Yeah, which was also included in the installation.
So you make greeting cards
I
too?
do.
You're going to put Hallmark out of business.
No, I don't think so. Anyway, so in each of the mother's pieces, in the collaborations with the family members, each family member had an opportunity to include their own thoughts and ideas and loves about their mother, and it was very moving. You
So
said, how did it touch? Yeah.
Part of what you do, you must ask them about objects that mean a lot to their mom, so you can incorporate that into the artwork.
Exactly right.
Are there some unusual articles throughout the years that you've incorporated into some of your art pieces?
Well, my friend Linda wanted to do her mom, Linda Barucki, Mildred Barucki, and she loved the Kennedys, so she had a lot of things related to the family, and I included them in her installation piece. I also included a cat that she adored. I drew a painting of
It didn't
the
hurt
cat.
the cat when you put it on the canvas,
Yeah,
did it?
it was a fun. It
Little
was
catnip to
It was a
lure into the
painting. It was a
painting, yeah.
painting of the cat. My Elsie's son Myron did a small metal mobile that related to his mom, so I included his mobile in my piece as well.
Oh, nice.
My friend Barbara had a number of things that her mom actually used, forks and spoons, which we included in hers. My Aunt Nell's piece, and my aunt is still around. She saw it. She was happy to experience it. She gave me things about herself, as her daughter did as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah,
That's terrific.
yeah.
And you not only use canvas, but this is an interesting thing. What is this on?
It's a piece of found masonite.
Oh, there you go.
Just
Yeah,
a throwout that I find on the street, and I hate to throw anything away, so
I know the
that's
feeling.
it.
Your wife can tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
And what is this a painting of?
It's just a painting of a person, just somebody that was posed. So it's not related to any of my shows. It's just an exercise.
It's
Yeah.
quite an exercise. Wow.
Yeah.
Now you had a protege, someone who influenced you in art. Who was the big influence in your life as far as art and getting you going?
The most recent was Jacob Landau, who was a friend, but before he was a friend, he was my mentor. And he influenced me to retire a little bit earlier than I might have. He said, I want you to do your work. He has pieces at the Met. He's pretty
Really?
well known. He has work in a lot of wonderful places. Yeah, he influenced me to not just paint on the kitchen table, but to go rent a studio space and do it full time.
And what kind of art does he do?
Well, he does. He did the whole Holocaust. He does fabulous, wonderful things. We could do a show just on him. Many shows just on him. But his influence on me is great, and I used to tell him he is outpost in my brain. That even when I wasn't with him, he was right there. Yeah, yeah. He and my dad, and also there was a man I worked with at Arts High School in Newark, where I went to high school, Lou Spindler, who taught me plasticity, which is actually movement through the canvas. And I think that, getting back to our original thought about dancing, the plasticity is actually dancing with paint.
I love that, dancing with paint.
Yeah.
You got in the background here a very
Oh,
interesting
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah.
That's fabulous.
This relates to Jacob. Jacob asked me to close my eyes and paint myself. This was a number of years ago. This was one of the first pieces I did with my eyes closed.
You did it with your eyes
Yes,
closed?
eyes closed. And, you draw yourself with your eyes closed. And then I opened my eyes, and he was standing right next to me when I was doing this. And when I opened my eyes, I did see many arms. I was a mother then of 2 younger children. Now they're older and they're quite self-sufficient. But I didn't have any preconception before I did this. It was just came subconsciously. And then all these animals came, and my mother always said to me, oh, you bring all the animals. The deer come to the backyard and the raccoons knock on the door and all of that. So when I opened my eyes, I put the dark line around it. The dark lines are with eyes open, but everything else is with eyes closed. And that began a whole journey into the subconscious, which Jacob encouraged. And from that point on, I didn't always do pieces, like this one.
Mm-hmm.
I went deeper, which is what he wanted me to do. Go deeper, go into the forest rather than staying in the garden.
Do you have a favorite piece of all your pieces?
No, my favorite piece is the one I'm working on right now.
And that brings up the next question. What are you working on right now?
Well, layers. I started
Layers?
a show. Yeah,
Meaning what?
This piece began my layers show. I had a show called
that's
Layers.
Layers.
Yeah, it's layers of my life, layers of canvas. I redid a lot of canvas pieces, and made them thicker, made them deeper and thicker. And I actually had a show called Layers, which is reflected in this postcard here. And I continue working on layers. I have a number of pieces that have found objects in them, and then I've glued these found objects to canvases. I have some that have boxes in them and put them right up glued them onto the canvas. Yeah. By the way,
terrific.
This poster is related to a group show with Jacob Landau.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have so many things up in the attic, I could give you artwork for about 170 years.
Okay.
Just go up to the attic and, my God,
When do we begin?
Actually, tonight we're going over.
Right.
What is the most important lesson that you've learned being an artist?
That I can continue to play, that I can continue the fabulous childhood that I had, and that I'm encouraged by people all around me to go ahead and keep playing because it makes them happy as well as me.
I like the way you mentioned playing. That's wonderful. It's not like working or
not like
it's
work.
just having fun and doing a great job.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about some of the shows throughout New Jersey that you've done.
Well, one that relates to your previous question was at Rutgers, Newark, and we did collaborations. My daughters, both daughters, one taught in Newark, one taught in Short Hills, and they were pen pals, and I went into each class and did some work with them. I showed them a painting I did about my heroes, which included my father and Gandhi and Dr. King and Mahatma Gandhi. Everybody was in there. And I used that as a springboard for their work. And we hung my work next to their work and had that show, and then mothers and grandmothers and fathers came to that show, and I was able to enjoy their work alongside of mine, able to enjoy their family members seeing both our works at the same time. And it made me feel good because I had just recently retired, and I missed having 150 kids a day in my class.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a good transition into my new way of working.
And you were an art teteacher?
I was an art teacher for 30 years.
My big question is, they say you have to start very young to learn to play the piano in a concert quality style. When you teach, do you have to be very young to develop art, or can you develop as an artist later on in life?
I think you can develop later on in life. I think it all depends on how determined you are and your intentions. And if you tell me you want to learn to draw, I can teach you to draw.
Not me. I try to do a stick figure. I get it wrong.
No. There's no right or wrong.
There is no right or wrong.
Because it's a matter of learning to see, not just look, but really learning to see.
Wow. Now we got 2 minutes. Unfortunately, we only have 2 minutes. If people want to get in contact, do you have a website, or how can they?
I don't have an official website yet, but you could go to Rutgers Artist Digital Series,
Okay.
Rutgers University, or they can just contact Joanne Leone at hotmail.com. That would work.
You have hot mail and you're a hot
I have
artist.
hot mail. Thank you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah.
And I want to thank everybody for watching. If you have to get in contact with me, if you want to be on the show, it's nostalgia.alley@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're always looking for interesting people. So thanks so much for watching. And I'd just like to say my signature good night to you, and special.